let's talk news. Not a whole lot of it, but there's a couple bangers in there.
Where to start?
How
Some good news
about
this week.
let's start with the hashtag EA Gate then. Let's go right to that.
What? EA in trouble? For why? But
Leaked
why?
DMs appear to show a company employee selling icon cards in packages priced at $750 to $1,000 a pop for the football.
Wow, I'm getting scammed on my scam. Wow. Fell off the back of the truck loot boxes.
Yeah, FIFA 21 has. I mean, is it like I can't remember because it comes up so often, but I feel like every single FIFA release, there's a story of some bullshit like this or surrounding
Yeah.
the card rarity player bullshit system. We've always had some sort of fucking illegal thing at some point to talk about, at least once a year. I don't know.
Well, every single year there's a news story that hits my timeline when FIFA comes out. And it's people who buy FIFA and go, wow, FIFA fucking sucks this year. I
Yet
can't believe I bought it again.
again, and yet you keep buying it.
Which is it's the same story every year, and I'm like and then there's always like a criminal part. There's always a part that's like FIFA now manages to make ultimate cards out of orphan blood.
I legitimately
Breaks
wonder.
record sales.
So, is it just like? Because here's the thing, right? I know people, and I've spoken to people because I used to, buy Madden games all the time and play the football back in the day.
Anyway,
And there's a level of like, it's just a tradition. We're always gonna buy it. That's not a question, right?
yeah,
My cousins used to buy NBA Live as well, right?
yep,
Like it's not about it as a game like product as much as it is just a regular tradition that goes hand in hand with my sports fandom. So it's a different group of people that are not necessarily choosing between this other game or that FIFA purchase, you know?
yeah.
So when it falls into that kind of category, it just ends up like nothing they do is going to mean you're not going to buy it. It's just it's going to be extra bullshit and you're going to be like, well, fuck that extra purchase. I'm not going to go buy those cards or whatever the infraction is. But the idea of not owning the annual FIFA game that's just not going to happen, you know?
Yeah, of course. I mean, like, the average sports fan is not a discerning customer for their content. And, I mean, you knew that already because they watch sports.
Burn. Sick burn, bro.
Like, I mean, that's just how it is. Like, oh, wow. I buy Madden every year because I love football. Okay. All right. Yeah, I got it.
So what I did see happening is it feels like people who used to do that with wrestling games eventually hit a point where they went, fuck this 2K19 bullshit.
Yeah.
I'm actually done. And they tapped out.
Yeah, you know what? I had never really put it together, but you're completely right. I was a person who played a lot of wrestling games, and every kid I knew in high school played wrestling games because every boy was way into wrestling in my high school. And even by the end of high school, like they're like fucking WrestleMania, not WrestleMania, No Mercy came out, and then everything that came out after that was like fucking kind of trash. And I saw people dropping off. People would bought like garbage like Attitude, and then as I went through like college, people were just dropping off. And even like on the line, you see people that like the diehard wrestling fan that buys every wrestling game that comes out has like fucking vaporized. Like
So
they've evaporated.
the annualized sports fan purchase for wrestling has gone because the quality dropped, which means there is
Yeah.
a bottom threshold. There is a point that it can hit, you know? But scummy practices on like microtransactions is not going to be what scares people away. In the case of the wrestling games, it was a buggy shit mess.
Yeah, and it's not just the like. It's interesting because the wrestling games had an issue that the soccer game or the Madden game or the hockey game, man, whatever, don't have, and that is when your wrestling game is a buggy pile of trash that looks terrible, it no longer resembles wrestling at all. It like, you know, when Booker T comes out and you're like, who the fuck is that? Like, is that supposed to be Booker T?
Mm-hmm.
Or Triple H's hair is like shooting straight up off his fucking body, and you're like, oh come on, and everything looks like trash. No matter how bad Madden is, from across the room, it still looks like a broadcast football game.
Mm-hmm.
Like the baseline for quality in terms of visual like disgust is higher on your average sports game.
Yeah, it's what if the FIFA game is ever rushed and a buggy fucking mess, and then the next year they do the same but even worse. That is probably going to wake people up, but it's not going to be the micro, you know. It won't be the scams.
Like sports games are bad and they've been bad for a long time, but man, wrestling games are terrible. Like they're fucking terrible. We played them on our channel as a goof because they are so bad. And when we did WrestleMania, it was absolutely eye-opening that like I knew that the N64 wrestling games were great. And you guys had heard about the PS1 ones, but never really touched them. And you were like, oh, there's some good stuff in some of these PS1 games. Like, you still preferred the N64 ones, but yeah, the PS1 SmackDown games were good. And some of the PS2 stuff was good too. And then, like, as we would go forward in time, like, after the PS2 onwards, like, every single game was worse than the one before it. Over and over and over. And they become, like, fuck, just awful.
And
just
it became
pieces of trash.
easier and easier to find the high note bug to end on, because you know that 20 minutes of play will lead to some nonsense bullshit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Every time.
Like, it was wild. And it's like, for better or for worse, the sports games have been mostly unchanged for like 15 years. But like they're bad, but they're not getting like way worse super fast like the wrestling games were. Like every wrestling game had that moment in its reveal where you could see it was noticeably worse than the game that came out the year before.
So the 2K19 bugs were like, I heard them like on the radio, like radio morning shows talking about how fucking bad it got. You know, like it absolutely hit mainstream. Like, holy fuck, look at this ref duck walking. You know, and everything going. Yeah, it was it. Oof. Anyway, so FIFA bullshit. Has EA responded? Seems like they're waiting on official comments.
They probably said some bullshit. Who cares? They're liars. Whatever they say, it's a lie. No, they did. They did respond. Hold on. And the response was fucking crazy. Oh, let me find this. Oh, different. Launching investigation. Investigation is, we want to be clear. This type, if we identify improper conduct, we will take swift action. We want to be clear. This type of behavior is unacceptable, and we in no way condone what is alleged to have happened here. We understand how this creates concerns about unfair balance in the game and competition. We'll update the community as we get more clarity on the situation. That part about the balance and competition is the funniest part, because there's no concern about Jimmy blowing 10 grand off his mom's credit card to get these players in their FIFA Ultimate Team naturally. But there's a huge concern to balance if you get it via a shady car boot sale from an EA employee. There's no difference. The only difference is one is a bunch of money getting paid to EA, and the other is an employee stealing profits from EA. It's only unacceptable because EA didn't get their cut.
Because it's like because now this is there's a 2-layered story here, because the system, the bullshit system in place allows for an employee to exploit in this particular manner, and the fix, of course, would never be to not allow that system to exist. It would, of course, be to punish that employee for profiting on what they were doing.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I'm not mistaken, the last version of this story was about drop rates for like Ronaldo and Pele and whatnot being like completely impractically impossible to get.
Yeah, they're like 1%.
Anyway, thanks, football.
To anybody who wants a perfect example of this that I just thought up, Woolie, you ever play paintball?
I sure have, many times.
You remember going down to the paintball shop and you rent your paintball equipment and you get the equipment you fucking pay for because you have your starter pack, and then you have the fucking like airsoft rifles that have been modified into paintball guns.
Yeah.
What if you were friends with one of the employees and he let you take out one of the fancy guns for $50, and then the management of the paintball resort says, we can't believe that our employees would influence the balance of the paintball game here at the park by offering these kinds of goods illicitly, yada yada. You're supposed to pay $200 to rent that goddamn airsoft variation.
Guillaume has been disciplined.
Yeah. Dude, I love paintball. I want to play that like once a year tops because, man, I was all fucked up.
Well, here's the thing.
I play paintball.
You play it twice, and then you realize that you're going to play more often than that, and then you stop renting equipment and start buying your own shit. So my brother and I
customizing your own rig.
Exactly. So my brother and I started buying paintball guns and getting our own shit because it was like, fuck renting this garbage where you can watch your bullets drop as the compressed air gets weaker and weaker after like 10 shots.
Yeah. I remember the last time, I don't know if you were with me the last time I went and played paintball. You might have been. Did you ever come up with me way up to the north?
I don't remember. Paintball? It's been a very long time.
Yeah. But I was playing with the pieces of shit guns, and in the setup period, like 3 guys walked by, head to toe, like leather biker, like motorcycle gear, with what looked like actual machine guns that happened to be paintballs. And it's almost like you could hear the screams from the direction they walked off into.
Oh yeah,
the
real motherfuckers, the dudes that have the gloves, the gauntlet gloves that can deflect the balls as they walk forward and fire, beast
it's
mode.
Like we're here to kill the vacationers.
And we spent our money to do so.
Yeah.
Good times. Yeah, you could also, the place I ended up liking, you could rent a helicopter. If you wanted to play on the big field in the large matches, you could literally rent a helicopter and fire from it. They were crazy. Anyway.
We're incredibly disappointed that our employees offered the ability to fly a helicopter over the paintball game, thus ruining the balance for lower than the stated price.